Welcome to the Get It Done podcast, where you'll find me, Bradley Simmons, weight loss and fitness expert, chatting to other experts on why health is the key to success. If you haven't heard of our 5 pillars that get it done, they are mental, physical, emotional, social, and financial health. This podcast is going to help you build your 5 pillars, and therefore is going to build your success and, most importantly, your happiness. Let's get it done. Laura, welcome to the Get It Done podcast, where we discuss the 5 pillars of health. And I've brought you on today because I want to discuss financial health. I think that's massively important right now. A lot of people got anxiety about their finances, not too sure where their economy is going at the minute. So it'd be brilliant to pick your brains, share your knowledge, and give some people some advice. But before we start, talk to me about yourself. Where are you from? Why you started your career in the financial world? Talk to me.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited. So I am a money and mindset coach / financial wellbeing speaker. And my whole thing is about helping people to actually feel good about money. I think when we think about money in general, we think of it to be like really practical stuff like spreadsheets and numbers and budgets. But actually money is really like financial wellbeing is about how you feel about what you have, not just what you have. So helping people to get financially like literate and confident, and actually helping people to like confidently build wealth. So I think the phrase like building wealth is something that means something different to everybody, and it's really important that people feel like money is for them.
Yes.
So my story, how I got into doing this, is I kind of come from a family that doesn't have a lot of money. Yep. And when I was like 10, I was like, I really want to be an actress. That was like the goal. I thought I was going to be like Kate Winslet in Titanic 2. And to go to drama school, it was like £15,000 per year that you had to pay. Like now you can get funding.
That's expensive.
Yeah, at the time I was like, where am I going to get £15,000? So I got a full-time job instead of like going to university. And then, so at 19, and then by the time I was 22, I had £15,000. So I was like ready to go, all excited. And then I ended up in a position where 2 of my best friends were like, do you want to come traveling? And I was like, once in a lifetime opportunity. So I ended up deferring drama school, going traveling, spending every single penny. But I had, the key thing is I had this light bulb moment where I was like, I didn't have to choose between traveling and drama school based on which one I could afford. It was which one do I want? And it was so empowering. It was the first like really positive experience I had with money. And I was like, this is so cool. Yeah. And I wanted everybody else to be able to experience that. True. So yeah, I kind of came back from traveling, got my job back, saved another 25 grand, moved to London and started an Instagram.
That's good. Because that's a tough one, because I started, things didn't work for me footballing wise when I was very young. So at the age of 20, and I went straight into the personal training world and grafted. So I never did traveling, but I traveled with my job. And I always question when I see people going on a gap year or 2-year gap year, and I'm like, aren't you just delaying earning money? Aren't you just delaying your career? What's your advice of people out there? Especially I feel like, I don't know, young people want to be successful, want to live in London. They have a big shock to the system when they come back from traveling and go, oh, okay, we got to spend a fortune on rent. I need to get a proper job. What's your advice to those youngsters?
I think like for me, travel is one of those things that expands you as a person so much that I see the whole experience as priceless. Obviously, there is a scale. Yes. But I know, for me, I would not be the person that I am today if I didn't do those 8 months away. It just gave me so much independence, so much confidence, you know, even down to like you meet so many people. You're like, I don't have to deal with the shitty ones that are in my life right now. But I also do agree that like everybody has a different way that they want to live their life. And I think what's important is finding the balance of like, what does it look like in the short term and what does it look like in the long term? Like if you do want to go traveling, it is going to be a shock to the system when you come back. Yes. And that, in my opinion, that's okay, right? If you, especially if you are in your like 20s or 30s, you still have so much time. And I think there's a balance between like learning to enjoy your money, because I'm a big believer that like the reason why we're all here is just to like experience and have a good time. But obviously we need to be sensible and prepare for the future. Yeah. So it's like doing it with travel with intention. So like save, have a set amount, but make sure you've still got a bit saved to come back to, or like that you've got a little bit in investments. And
so you're saying find that balance.
Find that balance.
Because I would say I wouldn't be where I am today if I hadn't started at the age of 20.
Yeah.
Because I believe it takes 7 years for you to get to where you want to be financially. of course, there's things I want to achieve further from where I am now. However, I wouldn't be where I am to now if I didn't stick off at 20.
Yeah.
I strongly believe that.
Yeah. Well, also to add to that, so I read a book. It's really interesting. It's called Die with Zero.
Yes.
And it's kind of like a financial, like philosophical book. And it talks about this concept of how people save and invest too much. And then they get into like their 60s thinking they're going to do all this cool stuff because they've got this money.
True.
But then they're in such a habit of like saving and investing. Their health is less. They haven't got as much time. And I think if you decide, I know where I want to be, I'm going to give myself 7 years, and you're like laser focused and that feels good, and you're having good experiences along the way, if that is the route that you choose to take, 100%. I don't think it's like if you don't go traveling when you're younger, shit life.
No,
it's
of course.
It's like, what is it? It comes down to a lot of like what you value.
Of course, because I guess you could say if you focus on your career so much that your social life will be affected.
Yes.
And that's another pillar on health.
Yeah, because we're social beings, right? And like your connections, your friendships, like they're so important. And I think sometimes, especially young people, like we live in a world now where we're so lucky that we can go online, have a profile, and we can be making money like that. Yeah. Like that's such a cool world to be living in for our generation. But I just think it's more extremes are the issue. If you're spending everything and you're not saving and investing at all, then the extreme of that is living paycheck to paycheck, financial worries, there's no safety blanket. But if you go to the extreme of like working your absolute arse off, no time for friends, not enjoying your money, you run the risk of getting burnt out. And that's when the money doesn't make you happy, I think.
100%.
I'm
with you there. So talk about investments. Because young people don't understand or don't know where to invest. We're everyone's going crypto. But for me, that's not a guarantee. I don't think people should be going into crypto right now. I think that's long gone. If you start off with crypto, happy days. Yeah. But now, where should young people be investing their money?
So
not just young people either.
All the peoples.
Yeah.
So for me, like crypto is not my bag. I did like a tiny bit of it, and then I got freaked out, and I just pulled all my money out because I didn't understand it enough. And I'm a big believer that when you invest, you need to understand, and you don't have to know the ins and outs of everything. But our parents and grandparents had affordable housing. And I think in the UK, everybody is so obsessed with buying property, and sometimes it doesn't make financial sense. It can sometimes, but like not as much nowadays, right? Houses are so much more expensive, salaries haven't gone up in alignment with it, all of those things. Whereas now, our generation, we have like easy access to the stock market. Yes. So being able to buy and sell stocks, shares, funds on the stock market through literally an app on your phone. Like it's so cool. And the good thing about it is that like there's no barrier to entry. Like with a house, you have to have tens of thousands of pounds.
25% deposit, it's stamp duty, it's just ridiculous.
Solicitor fees.
Yeah.
And it's like if you're single, like
and renovating the place as
well. Maintenance, like there's so many things to think about. And it's like I run a single girl community and everybody in there is like, how are we going to buy property? Yeah. So investing for the future, like learning how to invest in the stock market. And I'm a big believer, like there's a big difference between day trading and like long-term investing. Day trading being like you're going into the stock market, you're trying to see what's undervalued, you're trying to figure out all the things, is it high, is it low, you're selling, you're buying. Long-term investing is like you are buying something, for example, like a global market fund where your money is diversified. You put it in there, and you're keeping it there. And it's boring. It's so exactly boring. But it's long term. Yes. And it's like you're making the most of time. You know that money is building up over time. So my recommendation for people is really learning or teaching themselves, whether you like to learn by books, podcasts, courses, whatever it is, educate yourself on investing in the stock market. And I think there's a lot of misconceptions around like who it's for. Especially like for women, but just in general, like people just think it's for rich people. And I'm like, no, that's how rich people get rich. Exactly. So if you want to be one of them, you got to learn.
And we don't get taught this at school, do we? Or university. So do you have to teach yourself?
Yeah.
Is there courses out there for people to do?
Yeah, well, I have a course. Yes. I have a beginner course, and it's very beginner. Like it literally teaches you like what is the stock market, and it's like the steps to get started. The thing about investing in the stock market is that, so I'm not a financial advisor. The difference between an advisor and a coach, advisor is going to take your exact situation and be like, put it in this, put it here, open this product. Whereas for me, I am like educating and guiding you to make your own decisions. So it's more around education and guidance. Okay. So the fear around investing, am I doing it right? Am I doing it wrong? Is always going to be there for people. And it's like learning how to understand your own risk profile and understanding that like apps and banks and, financial providers, they all have to say your capital is at risk, because that's true. But your capital is at risk when you buy a house, and you don't really think about that in the same way. So it's like understanding your own risk profile and being able to be like, I'm going to do that. So I teach that in my course. But there's also so many like I say, books, YouTube videos, like access to information around financial education is wild now.
100%. So someone who's on 50 grand a year, living in London, what's your biggest advice to that person?
So I guess it's going to depend whether you are a 9-to-5er or whether you're like self-employed, business owner. For the people that are 9-to-5ers, one of the biggest things that I would say is look into your workplace pension. It's like free money, because when you put money in, your employer matches it and puts money in, and then you get tax relief. And I always remember hearing someone say it was like it's like a financial like Boots meal deal, because you do the sandwich, someone does the snack, like your employer does a snack, and then the government does the drink. So it's like you're getting so much more bang for your buck. And I wish that when I was in my 9-to-5, I was there for like I got auto enrolled, and I was putting some money in, but I definitely could have put a lot more in. But we live and we learn. We live and we learn. So yeah, I would say really thinking about that. And also the great thing about being like a 9-to-5er and having a stable salary is you know exactly what you're getting paid at the end of the month, every single month. You might have commission and things like that, but you know what you're getting. So it really allows you to properly plan your money, like forecasting for the month ahead. And I think the budgeting part, people hate, because they think that budgeting is like, oh, it's boring. It means I can't do what I want.
Especially when the sun is shining like
when the
today.
sun is shining.
You want to get out.
You do.
You don't want to budget, do you?
Yeah, you're like, I don't want to sit and do that. But I'm like, well, in your budget, like let's say it's summer, right? For this month, we know July, we're in June. In the summer months, you probably know that you're going to want to be sat in the pub enjoying your money, right? Spending it on drinks or like seeing live music or whatever. Budget for that. Because then that way it helps you remove the anxiety around where you're spending your money. And if you know over the next few months of summer, you're like, I'm probably going to spend a little bit more than I save, that's okay. I think especially young people, we think that there's a perfect balance of the two. And it isn't. It's more like, at this point I'm going to save more, at this point I'm going to spend more. But if you run your own business, or if you're self-employed, like,
or have a side hustle.
I think it's really important to understand taxes, like what impact is this having on the tax that I'm going to be paying. Because a lot of wealth building is about like tax efficiencies, even though we all know that's so boring, but it's just true. And like using specific accounts to help you, that like maybe where you get free money or like, like license and things like that. But yeah, really making sure that you know where your money is going is probably one of the biggest things I say to everybody. Everyone 100%. I speak to is that you'd be like, oh, they're like, I'm really struggling to save or invest. I say, where's your money going right now? And they're like, I don't know.
They don't know, do
they? They don't know. And I'm like, you need that data. Like it's just data, because then you build up a picture of how much it costs to be you. And when I always feel like we have a relationship with our money. We all know what a toxic relationship looks like, right? You don't know where they are. You don't know when they're coming home. Like there's a real disconnect. You don't spend any time with it. But a healthy relationship, you sit down with that person, you're spending quality time. You want to do that with your money. Yeah,
and coming to relationships, I know how impactful financial health can be on a relationship. I always say to my girl mates, you don't want to settle down or date a guy who's not financially secure. Because a man that's not financially secure isn't going to be potentially the best boyfriend, because he needs to focus on himself. He's going to be quite selfish, because he's going to do what he needs to do to get to that position of financial security to then be able to go, I want to bring you into my life. Do you find that right now?
Yeah, I think like everyone has got different opinions on like what they're looking for in a partner, right? And I think money is one of the biggest issues when it comes to relationships. Like money in the UK, money is like one of the number reasons for divorce, and it's not lack of money, it's arguments about money. So being able to communicate with your partner, and I think financial security is really important, but knowing their attitude towards money, because they might be in a position, like you might be dating someone and they might be like, I don't have the most amount of money right now, like if you're able to communicate, but this is my ambitions. This is how I manage my money now. Not that you have to lay it all out, but like at least knowing that there's the intention there. But I am a big believer, like, when I'm going on dates, I talk really openly about money. I'm like, date one, I'm like, let's talk about money. 100%. It's my favourite topic. And I think it's really important. And like, it's actually paid off, because the reason why I started investing when I was like 27 was I went on a date with a guy and we were talking about money, and I told him how much I had saved, and he was like, why are you not investing?
Yeah, exactly.
And I was like,
you shouldn't have any money in your bank account.
This is actually the first time I listened on the date. I was like, tell me more.
No, but it's true. It's massively true. I'm in that situation now where it's like, if I bring someone into my life, I need to know that they're doing well financially too.
Yeah.
Because it's so expensive out there.
It's
If you want
expensive.
to, if you want to live in London, and also I want to understand that you have the knowledge and understanding
Yeah.
of how to save money. You're not going to
Yeah.
be someone who's just going to throw money down the drain.
Yeah.
That's massively important.
Yeah.
I think a lot of guys in today's world are actually now looking for that.
Yeah.
Obviously, go back 50 years, men were the providers, women were at home. It's now changing massively.
Yeah. And I think also, like, it's, you know, like women like 60 years ago, 70 years ago, weren't even allowed their own bank accounts. So
Yeah.
now, like, we can have our own jobs, we have our own money, like, it can be more equal in that respect. But, you know, when it comes to dating, I think there's so much nuance to, like, the whole who's paying, like, it, obviously in heterosexual relationships, but like, is it the man, is it the woman? But I think it's so fair for people to go out into the world on their dating journey and be like, I want to date someone who's financially secure or responsible.
100%.
I think that's like, there's nothing wrong with that being
No,
on the
100%.
list.
I think so, massively. I think that's for men as well. Men want to know that women are financially in a good place for sure.
Yeah.
100%. Are you 50-50 on a first date?
Do you know what? On a first date, I actually am. Obviously, my preference would be that they paid.
Yes.
If they invite me out, I was like, I would like to take you for a drink. I'm like, okay. But after like the first round, they've paid. I always offer the second round.
Okay,
I'll
good.
always, and I don't have an issue doing
Yes.
1-1-1-1.
I've always been 80-20.
Okay, fair.
I'm always 80-20.
Okay.
I'm a traditional guy.
Yeah.
I like to be the provider. I like to support you. I like to look after you. But that 20%, just get
a
me a
little
nice little
something,
coffee.
yeah.
Let's treat me to a
Yeah,
nice little brunch around
yeah.
the corner.
Just a little something.
Yeah, of course.
That would be my preference, but I also
Yes.
wouldn't want to like, because it's hard, isn't it? Because dating
It's
is
hard.
expensive,
It is
right?
very
And if you're
expensive.
going out dating a lot and you're like, I understand it from the guy's point of view, but then also it's like the whole argument of like the girl's side of you of how much it costs for them to then live up to beauty
I totally get
standards
that.
and
I
all of
totally
those
get
kind of
that.
things.
But guys still need to dress well.
Yeah, I see both sides.
No, 100%. 100%. It's an important topic
Yeah.
because times are definitely changing for sure. And especially if you want to get on the ladder these days, it's not really just one salary. You
No.
literally need two salaries. It's tough, especially living in London with
Yeah.
price houses going up. Rent is massively going up.
Yeah, and I've had a lot of friends that have got into relationships and have moved out of London.
Okay.
They've gone to like, you know, like surrounding
Yeah, yeah.
areas because it's just a bit more affordable. But again, that's on a dual income.
Yes.
But there's this guy in America called Ramit Sethi who is like an amazing like financial guy, and this is where I get my philosophy from around like buying versus renting. I think if you are. But buying a property is like a great goal. And I hopefully, plan to own a home in the future. But if I know that I'm building wealth now through the stock market, I feel less stressed
Yes.
about getting on the property ladder.
Yes.
And that I think comes down to like the perception of like, am I in charge of my finances? Do I know where this money is going? Like, what are my intentions? What are my goals? And I think a lot of the time, especially younger people, they get given the goal of buy a house and they don't necessarily know if it's their goal. I had to really be like, I started to go through the process and I was like, I don't think I want this. Like, I still want to travel around. Hopefully I can take my business around and do all the things. Having a house is going to limit me. And I had to really like sit with myself and now always say to people, please make sure your goals are your own.
Do you think it's the older generation giving the wrong advice? Because obviously when they were younger, get on the ladder,
Yeah.
property after property. It was only a £10,000 deposit to get a house.
Yeah.
Now we're looking at stupid money, £100,000 sometimes just to get a house. Who's got £100,000 in their account these days? Who can save that? And if you have got £100,000 in your account, like you said
Fair play.
earlier, you should be investing it elsewhere.
Yeah.
So I listen to a few podcasts, and that's exactly what I've been doing, investing heavily into stock market. I have got some properties in the Cotswolds,
Oh, nice.
so I put them on Airbnb.
Very nice.
So that's my way, and then I rent in London.
Nice.
So I'm renting where I want to live in London.
Yeah, I love that.
Would I be able to afford to live where I could potentially? But I think it's a better business move to buy property slightly cheaper, areas that are good for Airbnb. I'm already actually saying that because loads of people are going to do this. It's going to become quite saturated soon. And then build my property portfolio that way.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, bricks and mortar, you can't go wrong.
Yeah. And I'm a big believer that building a property portfolio can be an amazing way of making money, like it was semi-passive, isn't it? Because you still have to like manage certain things like Airbnb or whether you rent it out.
Still a lot of work.
Still a lot of work. But great, like I would love to have a property portfolio in the future. It's just finding like where does this work for me right now? And like being able to rent in London, like most of the time, and like you say, it makes more sense to rent there if you then know you're building wealth elsewhere.
Exactly,
So that's
100%.
good. Good old Airbnb.
Let's talk about side hustles.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people will say, look, I'm working 9 to 5. Sometimes working longer hours than that, not working for someone else. It's just stressful. I'm not enjoying it.
Yeah.
I haven't got the time and energy to do a side hustle, but they want to earn more money. What would you suggest them to do?
Oh, I think it's a really hard one because I worked in a 9 to 5 for basically 10 years, so from 19 to 29, and 2.5, 3 of those years I was building up this business on the side.
Yeah.
And it was like, and a part of that was COVID, so naturally we had so much more time on our hands. I wasn't missing out if I was in. But I still had to make a lot of sacrifices. You know, there were times where I would be sat in on a weekend writing an article or for free because I believed in it, and I didn't necessarily know where it was going to go, but I kind of had my eyes set on that. So it is that thing of like, if you want to have the security of a full-time job, have the extra money from a side hustle, still have a social life, like something has to give.
Yes.
And I'm a big believer that you can have anything you want. You just can't have everything that you want. Like there are going to be points where things are slightly different. So I guess first of all is like really asking yourself, like, how much do I want this extra money? Because and there's stats around like happiness that say if you are spending too much time working and you don't have any leisure time, whatever that looks like for you, your happiness levels decrease.
Yes, massively.
And it doesn't matter how much money you have, right?
Yeah.
And then the chances are, because we're humans are emotional spenders, you run the risk of getting to a point where you're making all this extra money, but because you're not enjoying your life as well, you then are just spending it.
Yeah. On materialistic stuff as well to try. So you get that little bit of dopamine
Yes.
from maybe a new watch, a new handbag,
Yeah.
a new piece of clothes. You don't need those clothes. You don't need that
it.
watch.
Yeah.
But it's that dopamine.
Yes.
I always find that's like the recruitment syndrome. Any men that are in recruitment,
Yeah.
serious hours, they don't tend to enjoy what they do.
Yeah.
But they tend to wear the nicest clothes, the nicest watch, the nicest car.
Mm-hmm.
And they're still inside are very upset. They're not in a good place.
You don't. It's
and
not
that's why
addressing
the biggest
the root.
suicide rates are in that recruitment, or in the banking world.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me.
It doesn't surprise you, right?
I have a friend that is an ex-lawyer. She was in law for years. And I went on her podcast and we were talking about all this stuff. And she was like, now I'm having she was having light bulb moments on the podcast. And she was like, lawyers work crazy hours.
Yes.
And she was like, every weekend I'm buying handbags and shoes. She went, most of it sat in the wardrobe with the labels on. I didn't have anywhere to wear it. She was like, but I was trying to change my emotional state. And I think humans, unfortunately, aren't really especially through school, you don't get equipped with the soft skills of emotional intelligence and how to manage your own emotions. And a lot of the time, spending or overspending, when you comes from a place of emotion, it's just to cover something else up.
It is.
And your brain has convinced you, well, if you buy that thing, then I'll be happy enough, you know.
It's equivalent on someone on a weight loss journey, but binging.
Yes.
It's exactly the same, isn't it?
The parallels
Find that
between
little bit of
the
a
two.
dopamine.
Yeah. You think that it's in that moment it's going to make you feel better. I always compare health and fitness journeys with money journeys because there's so much comparison and so many similarities. But I think, really becoming aware of those things. But going back to kind of side hustles. So first of all, just ask yourself how much have I just convinced myself that I need a higher salary? Or if you have a goal that you're working towards, being connected to that goal emotionally is going to help you, right? And then it's what am I willing to sacrifice for the short term? B, with said side hustle, is it something I'm planning to turn into a full-time hustle? So because I was hoping that I could turn my side hustle into a full-time job, I was like, let's go. Yes. I know I can then quit my 9 to 5. I'm going to have so much more freedom. I'm going to be my own boss. I'm going to uncap my income ceiling. There's so many pros. But I really do believe that not everybody is set up to... No.
It's either in you or it's not, right?
Yeah, and it's hard.
Yes.
It's hard. But I take... there's this book called Big Magic by Liz Gilbert, and she talks about this concept of choose your shit sandwich. So she's like, anything you do is going to come with shit. Even when you're a business owner, you might have to do admin or pitching, and you might not like that. But overall, are you happy?
Yeah.
So, it's is this just for the short term? Yeah. And if it is, then you can do things that I think are more one-offs. Sounds silly, but little things like cat and dog sitting. I've got a friend who literally cleared all of our credit cards just from cat sitting.
Wow.
Wild.
Simple.
I know, so simple. And she loves cats.
Right?
Yeah. So, but that's not necessarily, well, it could turn into a full-time, but do you know what I mean? It's not you're building an online, a personal brand but if you're I ideally would like this to take over my 9 to 5 in the future, then the side hustle becomes a bit more building a personal brand, building an online presence, building a product, two very different worlds.
Yeah, so you go from 9 to 5 to 24/7.
Yeah. So all the time.
All the time.
All the time. Yeah.
You
so
wake
I think
up, you go to bed, you're thinking about it.
you're literally thinking about it all the
non-stop.
time. Yeah. Go on your phone and you're
On
got an
dates.
idea. This is great content. Can I just take a picture of us?
So talk to me, best side hustles then.
Oh,
Side hustles for a little bit of income.
Yeah.
or very good income?
I think that the caveat to this, I think the issue with side hustles is I think that online, because it's now seems so easy to make money, people feel like they can walk into a side hustle and it's just money straight away. But like things like digital products online, Amazon, or like things that you sell on Etsy, like even like planners and like downloadables, that stuff can be very lucrative. But again, you want to have either a good personal brand or like an online presence. So you just know that you have to like build it up a bit. Anything in property, if you have money up front, but if you don't and you're starting from scratch, using things like Upwork and Fiverr, they're like websites that you can go on, you can register yourself and you can say, I have skills in copywriting, I have skills in video editing or whatever it is. And then it's kind of like a one-stop shop. So I used it to like get a logo, I used it to get podcast artwork, and you go on and you just find someone and then you pay and then you can like transact that way. So you can just put your skills up. It's kind of like an online handyman type thing. So that they can be really good. I'm not a major fan of all of like the surveys and like you can like play games and make money. For me,
No, I'm not doing that.
No, not doing that. Not doing that. When I do things like that, or I don't do it, but when anyone tells me about stuff like that, I go, well, I could spend this 20 minutes doing this or an hour, or I could spend an hour doing something that's going to make such a big impact in the future.
Like investing your time and understanding how to actually make money in the stock market.
Exactly. So yeah, I think it's a hard one with side hustles because I think that there are loads of different things out there. I think selling your services and your skills are just the kind of best way to go.
I think so many people are confused because side hustle is a bit buzzword. It has been for a while.
Yeah.
Because of COVID maybe.
Yeah.
And everyone's so confused. What do I do? What side hustle do I do?
Yeah.
And they look into it and go, it's too time consuming. I can't be asked.
Yeah. And also like there's an issue of everybody monetizing their hobbies.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's great. If you have a hobby that you love and you're amazing at and you can make money, lovely. But there's like a psychological process that happens that when you monetize a hobby, the enjoyment level of it goes down. So are you willing to give up the joy that you get from this hobby? Like I've just recently started DJing.
Okay.
I've wanted to do it for ages. DJ, finance girl. And I've started doing it at home. And obviously, like, you can go and be a DJ and make money from it. But I'm like, right now I'm doing this for me. Will I monetize it? Maybe further down the line and I'll be a world-renowned DJ. But that's another story. Yeah. But like, the enjoyment level reduces. So it's about being aware of that.
And of course. And things of being a DJ, then you're looking at 2-3 in the morning DJ, and then that affects your sleep and affects your business. So there's always positives and always negatives, right?
There's an impact in all the different areas.
Of course. And coming back to financial health, do you feel like there's a lot of pressure on people to earn money, to be wealthy, to have a side hustle? And like you said, it's not made for some people.
Yeah.
Some people are content in their comfort zone at 35, 40 grand a year, and that's good. You don't need to pressure yourself to do any more than that.
Yeah. And I think the more you can get in touch with how you want to live your life, like when I say to people, why do you want money? If their answer is so I can pay the bills, I'm like, please dream bigger.
Yes.
Because you weren't just put on this earth just to pay your bills. Yes. However, if your hobbies or your level of I guess enjoyment and fulfillment comes from something that's a lot cheaper. For example, like somebody who gets so much joy out of hiking. Yes. Right? On a whole, that's such a good hobby. Being outside, it's exercise, really isn't that expensive, apart from obviously having to travel places, but compared to like they're really into, I don't know, like yachting, and I'm just assuming that's quite expensive. Two very different scales. It's going to cost this person a lot less to be happy than it is this person. So I think there's so much pressure, especially with online, like people online, and everyone's an overnight success. And this 7-year-old made £1 million overnight. And you're like, how's a 7-year-old doing that? So I think it's the comparison game of being made to feel like you have to have a certain amount of money. So that's why when you really start to get to know your own financial goals, your own financial values, how you like to live your life and how you'd like to live your life, it helps you build up a picture of what you need as opposed to what they have or what I should be doing. But we live in a capitalist society, so we're always going to need money. And it's like being okay with that, but just knowing how much you need for yourself.
Do you believe in capitalism?
I don't know.
I do.
That's it. I
do.
I do, but I think that the issue is that off the back of that, you get the structure. Yeah. The extremes are too big. If that makes sense. So it's like, I think money is great, being able to exchange, it being fair value. But I think, so you know the phrase, people say like money makes you greedy. But, money is evil. Money is the root of all evil. But the actual phrase is love the love of money is the root of all evil. So it's more that when people get into this cycle where they become money obsessed, as opposed to maybe what money can do for them, or like, and they go like,
Yeah.
that's where the issue is, and that's what capitalists.
Yeah, because you sense it when someone's like, say, the richest person in the room, they've got an ego about them, and they got the energy about them because they're the richest.
Yeah.
So there is that power that comes with it.
But I think that's gonna. The thing is, that's gonna happen with anything.
Yeah,
so it's like we live in this world. Money helps the world go round, and instead of money itself isn't good or bad. It's just the emotion that we as humans choose to attach to it.
I always say, money doesn't buy you happiness, but it does with the right people around you.
Yeah. That's true.
So your environment is so key.
Yeah.
Having good support, friends around you, having the right partner is massively important.
Yes.
Because you look at divorce rates of 58% right now.
Yeah.
And that's people picking the wrong partner, right?
Yeah. And I think who you pick as a partner, like a lifelong partner, is one of the most important decisions you can make.
My mum always says the most important decision you'll ever make is who your wife is, which is why I'm taking my time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
as we should. And I think also, like, when it comes to that, there's so much onus and pressure on like finding romantic love. Like society has just got this obsession with like falling in love, finding the one. And it's like, first of all, I get so much from my friendships. Like, I'm very lucky. I've curated a really beautiful like group of different friends. I get so much from that. And I'm like one of the only single people there. But I'm like you. I'm like, I don't want to settle. I know that the person that I pick is really important, not only for me, but for my finances.
Yeah, of course.
Has a big impact.
So how much would your partner need to be on a year? That's a good question.
That's a really good question. I actually don't have an arbitrary number that they would need to be on. I have this argument with my housemates a lot of like whether I would like to be with the business owner or whether I'd like to be with a 9-to-5er.
Yes.
And that's more what I like think about than how much they're actually on.
Yeah, it's a tough one because even when I'm dating, I'm like, am I better off being with someone who's got their own business, who's got a bit more freedom, or a 9-to-5er?
Who has the stability.
It's a tough one, but
Yeah.
because of my lifestyle, I'm here, there, everywhere.
Yeah.
So it probably suits me to be with someone who also is here, there, and everywhere.
Yeah.
But then, of course, 9-to-5. It's funny. I've just employed 2 great people who Get It Done, and my sister was saying, "Yeah, they get 30 days holiday." I said, "What do you mean they get 30 days? If they need a day off, they can have a day off." My sister said, "No, we have to be strict. This is business," and I really don't understand that.
Yeah.
And I think it's mental. People say, "Sorry, Brad, I can't come on the weekend, or I can't come to Ibiza. I can't come to the French Alps to do the hike because I haven't got enough holiday." I'm like, I can't believe it. It's almost like you're in prison.
I know, and I did it for 10 years, and I remember when I quit my job, I was like, the thing that I will always hold on to is being able to just take my laptop and go anywhere.
Yes.
And it's so funny because I've been quite a few places this year, and every time I bump into someone, they're like, "You've been jet setting around."
Yeah.
And I'm like, I've built my life and my business so I can do that. When it comes to a partner, it's like, okay, when I quit my job, so many people in the industry were like, who my friends were like, "Oh my God, we can't believe that you're single, you live in London, and you've quit your job to go full time on your own with no support." Because I don't have support from my parents and I don't have support from a partner.
No.
And I was like, oh, well, I don't have a choice. It's just what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Whereas most of them, when they quit their full-time job, they had a partner with a 9-to-5 who was like, if you can't pay the bills, you're protected.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's, in my eyes, the main benefit of a 9-to-5er, like being a partner.
Yeah.
But in regards to lifestyle, agreed. I think like when you're a business owner and you're an entrepreneur and you're jet setting around or you're doing all the things, it makes sense to have someone else who can take what time they need and when they want. And it's also a different mindset, I think.
Do you think social media has a positive part to play when it comes to financial freedom? Because you're going to have a lot of people wanting to go their own way, they want to travel. I know the online coaching business, every PT wants to become an online coach now because they want to be in Bali.
Yeah.
And it's a very saturated market.
Yeah.
And if they haven't got the skills or the knowledge to grow a business, they're going to struggle.
Yeah.
They're going to be in Bali scratching their head thinking, I can't even afford to be in Bali.
Money. Yeah.
So it's going to be really tough, Do you think social media has a positive part to play? Because I think social media has some, when it comes to learning about finances, when it comes to this is where you should be putting your money, we didn't have access to that 20 years ago. There wasn't podcasts. There wasn't free content.
Yeah.
Which is probably why the rich stayed rich. Because they had the financial advisors. Now we're getting the knowledge and understanding of where to put our money, listen to this podcast, reading this book, getting advice to do this.
Yeah.
Do you think Instagram or social media has a positive part to play in financial health?
Yeah, I'm a big believer in like, yes, social media has its downsides, but doesn't everything.
Yeah.
I think for me, it's changed my life so much. I would say 50% of my close friends now I've made through social media. The access to people and knowledge is like insane. So when it's managed properly, it's great. And when you're a creator, like I definitely think the benefits go right up versus just being a consumer. But I do think what can happen, and this happens in every industry, but there's smoke and mirrors. Oh, become an online PT. Oh, you can make so much money. And then you have people teaching other people how to make money online. That's how they're doing it. But then those people, 10, 15, 20, whoever they're teaching, like you say, it becomes a saturated market. And then they're like, oh, I thought this would be easier. Yeah. So I think that, yes, it's positive and it's had a positive impact. But I think you need to just have a bit of discernment of when people are telling you something is so easy. I think it's more about understanding there are no get rich quick schemes. Yes. I talk about this with investing. When I'm promoting the course, I always say, this is long term, people. Yeah. We're talking 10, 15 years.
Yeah, it takes 7 years to be successful in any business.
So it's you have to have that long term approach. And when it comes to running a business and making money, yes, we have access to do that. You could set up a LinkedIn, a link tree and all the downloadables. You could set that up quickly. But the actual graph that goes into making the money it's harder work. So I think it's had a positive impact, but some people just go in blindly and they're like, woohoo, I'm going to be able to do this and make loads of money very quickly.
And let's talk about those people that are living a very materialistic lifestyle, living over their means, struggling with their mental health. And they'll be listening to this now and they're talking about me. And no one's aware of their mental health issues right now. Yeah. What's your advice to those people?
So I did a piece of research. It was probably at the start of COVID, and it looked at the comparison between money and mental health. Yeah. And it was if you have poor mental health, it's going to make managing your money so much harder. And if you're struggling to manage your money, it's going to make your mental health worse. And it kind of becomes this downward spiral. So I always think it's really important to be in touch with yourself. And if you feel stressed about money, or if you're feeling overwhelmed, or if you're feeling anxious, really getting to the root of why that is. Sometimes it's because you are literally spending outside of your means. You don't have enough money coming in. You don't know where your money's going. And it's a practical problem. And sometimes it's more of an emotional problem. If you have a belief that making money is hard, or saving money is hard, or whatever that belief is, the emotional part is going to have a bigger impact on your mental health. And you might actually be okay financially, but your mindset towards it is causing the issue. So it's kind of becoming aware of how you're feeling and finding a point that you can kind of focus on so you can start to shift it, and understanding is it an emotional problem or is it a practical one? Yes. But if you're listening to this and you're oh, I spend a lot of money on materialistic things, it's can I afford to do that? Why am I doing that? Yes. Is it to cover up something else? Is it to cover up emotions? Is it because I'm trying to impress people? Yes. Really get into the why.
The majority of the time is trying to impress people. And my best advice out there is, if you work on your physical health and your mental health, your presence, your energy in the room will impress people enough. Yeah. It's not your watch. It's not the G-Wagon you turned up in. It's your energy and what you can offer people and your value. Yeah. So please, and look, someone from experience, I came from a footballer, didn't work out for me. I needed to showcase I'm still doing well for myself. Yeah. I was in nightclubs, spending this, I can do this, I can do that. I've done it, I've been there, done it. And now I don't care. Yeah. I drive a nice car, I've got some nice watches, but they're investments for me. Yeah. I always wear nice clothes, but I live under my means, and I think that's so important because there was a time where I was probably living over my means and it was catching on. Mm-hmm. Drinking alcohol as well isn't good for your mental health, financial health either. Mm-hmm. No. And just coming from experience, live under your means, look after your physical health, and trust me, your financial health will improve big time.
Yeah, and I think there is nothing wrong with having nice things. I always remember seeing this post where Kylie Jenner, I think it was wearing this bracelet, and it was probably £20,000-30,000. And this financial coach that I follow online, she was like, oh my God, I really want that bracelet. So she looked into it, and she looked what percentage of Kylie Jenner's wealth has this cost her. Now, for the lady who was looking, that £20,000 bracelet would have been it was something crazy, 10 or 15% of her annual paycheck. But for Kylie Jenner, it was 0.02%. So it's not necessarily the item and how much it is, it's what effect it is on your own finances, what percentage. So if, like you say, if you're going out and you're spending crazy amounts of money and you're shopping at designer clothes, shops, and you're trying to kit yourself out, but so far outside of your means, all you're doing is, like you say, you're going to look all nice, but that energy that you feel, that anxiety, you're going to show up in spaces, but I hope people do notice, so it makes it worthwhile. I know. And then that in itself is an energy that kind of makes you smaller. And I think knowing, if we just had everything we wanted all at once because we could just afford it, how boring. It's nice to build up and know you can start to buy slightly nicer things, shopping, because it's being proud of yourself. So it's working towards a common goal.
That famous saying, if you can't buy it twice, don't buy it at all.
Yeah. Or if you're going to buy something, put the same amount amount of money into an investment at the same time.
Good. That's even better advice.
Yeah.
That's even better advice. Because obviously with percentage every year, 9%, it goes up and up and up and up.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that when it comes to investing and like growing your money, like the sooner you start, the better, like because you have longer to do that. But also, I think so many people buy things thinking that it's going to make them happy and it doesn't. If you are listening to this and you're like, do you know what? Actually, that is me. I've got so many things at the back of my wardrobe, or there's so many times where I thought it was going to make me happy and it didn't. Mm-hmm. It's like learning from your mistakes, not regretting anything, because you can't change the past.
We live and learn.
We live and learn, but like really asking yourself, like, let's be honest, this isn't making me happy. What can I do differently? And it's like okay to use this podcast as a catalyst to actually make that change. And a lot of the time, the reason why people don't save or invest or prepare for the future is because they don't know what they're working towards. So then they go, oh, I don't really know what I'm saving for. You're always going to need money.
And that's famous saying, live in the present. I get it.
Yeah.
We do have to live in the present, but we have to think about the future.
Yeah. And the best way to be able to do both, in my opinion, is to have a budget. Yes. Because you can go, right. Because a lot of the time people will maybe create a budget, but they just try and save what's left over. Yes. The chances are you're not going to have much left over. If you give your brain and your life, oh, I'm just going to spend and see what's left, you won't have any.
Well, let's talk about budget then quickly. Mm-hmm. How do we budget? Is there an app out there? What's the best way to budget?
So it depends what you're like. There are apps and there are different like platforms. I'm a big spreadsheet girly. Because it just allows me to like see everything I need. Like I've got a freebie one that people can download. I've had like loads of people download it and it's really helped them. It's just about looking over everything you've got. But really the key things are the 3 S's of like money management, which is survival, spending and success. So know what your income is. If you're a 9-to-5er, obviously that's a lot easier. If you're a business owner, try and take a rough guess of what you're going to make each month. And then you want to split your money into what do I need to survive? So that's going to be rent, mortgage, internet, phone bill, all of those things. What do I want to spend? So that's going out, socializing, nice that, you know, the things you're enjoying your money in the now, and then success. So that's for the future, clearing debt, saving, investing, pension, all of those things. And making sure that some is going into each. And just that like process alone will make you go, oh, okay, I'm living outside of my means, or oh, okay, I need to do more of this. Like it's more the awareness. You're never going to get it right first time, but just giving it a go. And you can do it by pen and paper. You can do it by like writing it on your phone. Like really depends what your vibe is and how you like to do it. But once you've done that budget and you've broken it down, what's going where, using like a Monzo, a Starling, a Revolut, an app, which is a bank, that you have a spending account. So you do not want to spend from the same account that your bills go out of. Okay. So you have one bills account and a spending account, because that way you're not going to accidentally spend your rent money on tequila. Yes.
In Reese, like I do many times. Okay, next question. We can have a little pause. This can be edited. How long we got?
So
it's warm in here, isn't it?
My hair is just slowly going.
Yeah, I can feel like I'm like fucking. Am I having a fucking load of extras? I'm fucking sweating.
I was thinking about more water, but the guy ran out.
George, anything we should? Anything? Questions here are good.
I think when you're talking about investing and stuff, how much money do you think you would need to start off?
Oh, that's a great question.
Developed a huge amount of savings.
Yeah.
Okay, let's start with those.
Yeah, so good.
Let's go back to investing, because I think everyone's going to be glued to this and thinking, oh, okay, teach us more about investing. Okay. How much do we need to begin with?
Okay, so now you can actually get started with like £5 a month.
£5 a month.
Now, it's not going to be the thing that makes you a millionaire, obviously, but I'm a big believer that building financial habits is more important to start. So if you're starting out investing, starting with what you can afford, £10, £50, like something small and manageable. And then after a couple of months and you're in the habit of doing it, then you can build it up. Yeah. So great thing, you can start really low amount. The key thing is like being consistent. So a lot of people say, well, let's just say I've got a big chunk of money right now. Can I just chuck it in investments and not do anything else? You can chuck a big amount in there, but really you want to be investing like regularly month on month. To actually kind of like how much you should be spending each month is going to come down to your goals and your budget. So I like to work backwards and kind of be like, okay, well, I know that I would like to retire at this age, maybe on this amount. And I've got a whole podcast series on...
How old do you want to be when you retire?
How old?
Yeah.
Ideally, like in my head, I'm like maybe between 45 and 50.
Nice.
But my opinion of like when I talk to people about retirement, they automatically are just like, oh yeah, like 65, 70. But like that's pension, retirement age, you can actually pick when you want.
But yeah, I'd love to retire at 50 and have little side hustles.
Nice. Yes.
So I'm still working. I've still got a purpose.
Yes.
I think at a certain point you have to have a purpose.
Agreed.
If you don't have a purpose, you'll age quickly.
Yes.
So yes, I will probably would like to stop the pre-recorded workout.
Yeah.
Because I can't see myself doing it at 50 years of age. So, but I have enough money in the bank. I've invested wisely, so I can go into property. I can have my own pub. I can have my own little cafe. Things that bring me enjoyment. That's what I want to do.
Yeah. My idea was I really want to have like a coffee shop / a bookstore.
Perfect.
Like maybe by the sea. I don't know. But it's something for enjoyment. It's still going to create income.
Yeah.
But it's not like I have to turn up to work every day.
Yeah.
So so have a little thing. And like what I will say is if you're listening to this, you don't have to succumb to being like, I have to retire at retirement age. You can if you want. But like really just going through and understanding like what does that look like. And I've got a whole series on my podcast about how to break that down. But then when it comes to how much each month, it's a little bit like how long is a piece of string. So you can use something called a compound interest calculator, which is like a free tool online. And you can say how much, if I invest X amount per month for X number of years at an average interest, compound interest rate of, what does that look like? And when I first started investing, I would do that all the time because then I would go, oh, I'm only going to invest £100 a month. What does that look like? But what if I put it up to 150? And then when you see the impact that has long term, you go, I'm going to find that extra £50 to put away. 100%. And maybe one month you'll do 100 and then the next month you do 400. It's okay, but just knowing that you're putting something away and working towards, and knowing that there actually isn't necessarily a minimum, depending on what app you use or platform, because some platforms do require like a minimum.
And people be surprised at how much money you'll grow, especially with those percentages.
Yeah, it's wild.
Those interest rates are mad. Yeah,
and just to explain actually, like for anybody that doesn't understand, compound interest is basically when you make interest on interest. So if you've put £1,000 into like a stocks and shares ISA, an ISA, and then you've made, let's argument's sake, 10%, so that's £100. That following year, that you make interest on the 1,100. So you're making interest on the interest. And 10, 15 years, like if you see it on a graph, that's when you actually start making more in interest than you do in actual, like your own original amount.
Or you could flip it and have credit cards and you're paying interest on that interest.
Yes.
And you can get yourself in a very bad place.
Yes.
And many people are doing that.
Yes. And with debt, I think it's one of those things, especially with the rise of buy now, pay later, where it's like, hey, you're buying a pizza for dinner. Would you like to split this over 7 months? It's like, no, I don't want to split my £20 pizza over 7 months. Thank you. But it's so accessible and it's so easy for it to feel like free money. Like I'm a big believer that credit cards can be amazing financial products. You can get, like I went to Dubai earlier this year and I paid for half of my flight with my Amex Air Points. Okay. But you have to have restrictions around the way that you spend it so that you're spending responsibly. So if you're listening to this and you're like, oh, I don't really trust myself with a credit card, I say, don't get one. Work on your relationship with money first and know that, maybe use your debit card as a practice.
And get using the spreadsheets. Get a budget,
have a set amount, and then go on to credit cards because of the reward system of like cashback and points, it can make you spend more. You're like, oh, I'm going to get points, but then you might end up spending outside of your means. So they can be great products, but just use it in a way that is responsible because it affects your credit score to be able to get on the property ladder.
It massively affects your mental health and your relationship with your friends, your family, and your partner.
Yeah, and I think there's so much debt shame in the UK. I think there's money shame in the UK. Like you're not allowed to ask somebody how much their salary is or how much their, it's all like hush, like you don't like it. But with debt, it keeps people quiet and it makes people feel really ashamed. And that's where that's the in the January, I can't remember exactly what day it is, the day where there's the most male suicide. And a lot of it is to do with money.
Of course it is.
Like they've gambled or they're just, they're trying to provide for their family and it's really sad.
Men are suicidal when it comes to relationships or breakups or financial. They're the only two things really.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. The financial pressure of like...
Do you think financial pressure of being a man is a lot harder than being a woman?
It's really hard.
I believe it is.
Yeah.
I believe it is. Because it's in our instinct to be the provider, right?
Yeah, I think that the patriarchal society that we live in puts men as the breadwinners, the providers.
Of course.
And that's a lot of pressure.
And when you do have a partner who's got a kid, of course, that it's hard for them to work for a year. That's
Yeah.
why there's maternity leave, right?
Yeah.
So men in our head is always, we got to be with the provider.
Yeah.
People ask me, Brad, why do you work so hard? Why have you got so many businesses? Why
Yeah.
can't you just chill and be present? I'm like, it's for my family. They're
Yeah.
like, but you haven't got a family. I know, but I will one
I will
day.
do,
And
yeah.
I want them to be comfortable. I
Yeah.
want to be comfortable. I want to live in a nice area, nice holidays. I want them to go to good schools. I haven't even got a family yet. That's an instinct
Yeah.
of mine. And I know there is a financial pressure for men for sure.
Yeah,
And
no, I do
There
agree.
is for women for sure.
Yeah, but I think it's just different, isn't it? I think the financial issues that men face are more like the pressure of needing to be the breadwinner, like who's got the most money, who's got, all of that. And then with women, it's that we live in a world where you're maybe less likely to make as much money as your male counterpart, or it's going to be a bit harder. So it's more the opportunity for women. So it's like there are financial pressures for both. And I think it's really sad for men because it's like the goal post always moves. There's always another thing. And then it's like competition with your mates. So I think there's so many, external pressures that can.
Yeah. I've got a really good
affect your mental
circle
health.
where I've got a circle that are doing very well. And we can sit at the pub, have a drink and talk about our finances. What's going on
love
for
that.
me? Where am I investing money? And there's no jealousy. I'm like, God, I picked his brain. I need to do that.
Yeah,
and
love
I've
that.
got another circle of friends that I can't mention money because they're probably not in a good financial place.
Yeah.
And I don't want to come across like I'm boasting.
Yeah.
Because I'm not.
Yeah.
If anything, I'm trying to motivate them by saying, look, you can do this and this and this. And I've helped many of my friends out with have a limited company, you're going to pay less corporate tax, you need to put your money in a pension, you can put 60 grand a year into your pension, which people don't realise.
Doing the Lord's work.
ISA, if you have kids, you can put 10 grand into their ISAs
Yes.
as well. So you can save like 90 grand a year on just away from your tax bill by investing it. And people don't know about it. So there is a lot, your environment is very key. Picking your friends' brains is massively important.
Yeah, and I think so. When I started doing this, so when I went travelling around Australia and I had that £15,000, the two girls I went with, they did not know how much I had. Everything was in secret. Like, because I had this weird embarrassment around the fact I was saving because they were both at uni, they were going to have to go to Australia and get jobs. And I was there like, I'm going to be a lady of leisure.
Did you not tell them how much you have because you didn't have to buy the drinks all the time?
I did near the end because one of them ran out of money and she was like, can you just, I was like, this is on me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I kept it really secret. And I remember I came home from Australia and then one of them said to me, how much did you have? And I was like, I had 15 grand. And she was like, that's amazing. And she was so supportive. And then when I started doing this, like making content online, and this was a few years ago before there were many like finfluencers. So everyone was like, oh my God, she's, talking about it. And me and my friends, or my school friends, and now all of my friends talk very openly about money, and we help get each other pay rises. Like we would write the email for my friend who was like, you should be being paid more, like don't, and we'd help her write the email and we'd be like, take that haha out, like,
so good.
and you support each other.
Well, they do say like, don't be in the same company for over 3 years. 'Cause you get a pay rise after moving after 3 years. But not too quick because obviously people look at you're changing all the time. So every third year, look to change company and you're going to get a pay rise.
Yeah. And it's like little things like that. And I also think talking about money to your friends, example, went to Ibiza recently and we knew we were going, but we booked it really last minute. And we all openly like, what's your budget? I can afford this. I can afford this. Great. And then there was no anxiety around, oh my God, so-and-so's booking. She's going to book the most expensive hotel and I can't say anything because then they'll know they know I don't have any money. That's so anxiety inducing.
I think that's where men are different because men will then get the credit card out and pretend that they can afford it.
Yeah.
I think that's the difference.
Yeah. I think women do that, but I think it's the difference. Do you know what's so funny is I was with someone in Ibiza and they were like, oh yeah, between us, it was a male, and he was just like, yeah, we just tap. I went, do you settle up at the end? Do you like put it on splitwise and figure out who owes who what? And they were like, nah.
Yeah.
And I was like, whereas girls, and it's not to be stingy, it's just to be like, oh, I'll get this one. We put it on Monzo. I'll get this one.
Exactly.
And then you like level it out.
Yeah.
So it's such a different like world.
No, it is.
Like
me and my friends, when we go to Ibiza, let's say we go 4 days, we all have our own day.
Yeah.
Because we don't want to be in a position where we go, let's split it. It can be quite long.
Yeah.
So like my day's today. And we're doing this, okay, that cost me so-and-so. Your day's tomorrow.
Oh my God, that's so interesting.
Yeah. And then on the fourth day, it was my mate's day. I was like, what should we do? I said, you know what?
Let's go to the most expensive beach club.
And let's go to Formentera. Cost him a fortune, and he got boat sick as well. So,
Oh, no,
he didn't even enjoy it.
Oh, sorry,
So
babes.
look, it's just different for everyone. But
Yeah.
I totally understand if you've got a friend in there who's not financially secure
Yeah.
and he's getting his credit card out,
Yeah.
you don't know what he's doing to his mental health
Yeah, and it's like,
or her mental health.
yeah, and being able to talk to it is
Yeah.
then
Communication is
so
key, right?
Communication is key, because I would like, my ideal, like one of my biggest goals, maybe like, I don't know, a couple of years
Yeah.
down the line, is I would love to be in a position, no, I will be in a position where I will say to 10 of my closest girlfriends, everyone book this weekend off in July. I've booked out a chateau in
Yeah.
Italy. It's all on me.
Yeah, love
and
that.
I don't want to do that for like, this is on me. But I
yeah.
want to do it because I would love to be in a position where I can bring
Yeah.
all my besties together. They
Yeah.
don't have to worry about money. Obviously, like, I think really understanding where your level of like how important generosity is
Yeah.
to you. And I'm a big believer that when you give, it comes back
Yeah, and
multiplied.
I think environment is really important because you're going to get some people that are going to, oh, she's boasting, she's jealous. No, they're jealous
Yeah.
and they're trying to show off.
Yeah. And I'd be like, bye, you're not coming.
Exactly. Well, that's why your environment's so key.
Yeah.
Massively important.
Yeah, and I think it's really good to have people around you that are making more than you and less than you.
Yeah.
The ones that are making more than you or doing more, perfect people to learn off of. Like,
their
tell me how you
brains.
pick their brains for free. Thanks, friend.
Yeah.
And then the people below you, you get to be that person for them. And I think if you can talk openly about money, that flow can work really nicely.
Well, that's what I'm doing. I know we mentioned it. I'm actually bringing out a company called the Coaches Club.
Oh, nice.
Because I have done very well in the online coaching
Yeah.
space. And I get a lot of DMs, a lot of coaches, Brad, I need help.
Yeah.
And it's not just a case, you're a good trainer, you are
Yeah.
a good coach, but it's how to sell yourself.
Yeah.
It's how to retain clients, which is so important. When you
Yeah.
have a business, it's about retention more so than bringing clients on.
Yeah.
So that is something I am going to do, but I totally get it. There's a lot of people out there that aren't doing well like online coaching, but then they bring out their own coaching business.
Yeah, I think the people that should bring out online coaching businesses are the ones that are still doing that.
Yes.
That's where you see the difference.
That's the key
It's when
difference.
they stop doing this part just
Yeah.
to do this, and then
Yeah.
you're like, now
Hang
you're
on
just
a minute.
you're just making money over there.
yeah.
Whereas you're like proving concept here, and it's a
Yeah.
little bit like a financial coach, right? Like there are certain things I expect from myself with my own money, so that I can then share.
Yes.
And I'm not just making money off people giving me money. I'm doing it because I'm like, I am sharing that knowledge, and I think we live in a world where someone paying for your expertise is important. Like I'm a big believer in like the flow of money and like spending money. Like the more money I have, the more I can give to independently owned businesses, the more I can invest in myself. Like, oh, I want to upskill. Maybe I'll go
of
and
course.
learn
I
how
think
to do
that's so
this.
important. You have to invest in yourself.
Have to invest in yourself. Like if you're hoarding everything,
Yes.
like that's why investing is so good, because technically you are spending, but you're just spending on something
Yeah.
for the future, and you're investing in your skills. You're, opening your opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
And I think sharing that when you've learned how to do it, they're the people that you should learn off of.
100%. 100%. Okay, let's conclude. So, your best advice to anyone out there that needs your extra support when it comes to their financial health.
Okay, so I'm going to give it a mindset one and then like a practical one. So on a mindset basis, long story short, your when you're younger, your brainwaves are at a different state. So your money mindset is set by a really young age. So, but our brains can change because we have neuroplasticity. So learning what do I believe to be true about money, and then changing your language around money, because most people are stuck in the position because of the way that they talk about money, and then they call in more of that opportunity. So if you're always saying, I'm really bad with money, I'm never going to have any money, I'm always going to be in debt, guess what's going to happen?
Mindset, yeah.
So from a mindset basis, understand like how you're talking about money and start to shift that. It's free. You can start doing it now. And it might feel weird at first. And I always say, like, don't wake up and look in the mirror and be like, I'm a millionaire. Because if you've got £10 in your bank account, your body's going to be like, But yeah, really starting to acknowledge and change your language. And then on a practical basis, get to know your numbers and be intentional with managing your money. Whatever that looks like when it comes to spending, saving and investing, but really getting to understand how much it costs to be you and where you would like your money to go, and put yourself like back in the driver's seat, back in the financial driver's seat.
Love that. Ended well. Laura, thank you so much for coming on the
Thank you for
podcast.
having
That's
me.
been great. I think many people are going to enjoy that and take a lot from that. Of course, where can they find you? Instagram?
Yeah, so Instagram is Laura @Laura_Ann_more. I'm also on TikTok.
Nice.
I also have a podcast called Mind, Money, Soul, which
Good.
looks at the emotional, the practical and the spiritual sides of money. And if you're a corporate person, get me on LinkedIn.
There you go. Happy days.